Soccer Night show. Tonight, it's all about the champions again. No, it's not about me. It's about the guys that we've got in as guests this evening. The treble winners, no less, in Crusaders FC, who, despite all our negotiations, we've finally managed to get them on the show. And we also have their #1 soccer fan in Shaquille here to my left to help guide us through all that's happened to Crusaders this season. And then we thought we'd bring in Rash to balance it up at the end of the chairs as well. Good evening, Rash. But first, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this. Not often do we have a team enter into a football league, in any league, turn up and do what they have done. It will always, I'm sure it will always stick in their throat, the fact that they suffered one minor blip, just one minor defeat. But other than that, they won every single game that they played in. Some were good, some were close, some were tense, some were contentious, but they ended up winning their division and they ended up walking away with the League and Challenge Cup. Our guests this evening are Crusaders Football Club. Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
listen, I don't want to big you up too much, all right? I'm not going to do that because that's not really what I wanted to talk to you guys about this evening. What you guys have done is great, it's fantastic. As Rash will testify in a little while, only been done by one team before, that was the London Tigers. London Tigers have gone on to establish themselves within the Inner London Football League and have been successful for a number of years. We've had teams that were here before London Tigers who have established themselves as champions and their credentials speak for themselves, the likes of Stepney Football Club, who we can talk about as well. But you guys have just come in and of course, everybody has an expectation, and of course, everybody wants to say, we're going to come in, we want to win, we want to do well. But what did you really, really think was going to happen when you stepped out first game against Beaumont Youth way back last September?
Well, first of all, good evening to everyone, and thanks for having us on the show.
No problem.
First game against Beaumont, as I don't know, I've explained to you in the past, the team was a brand new setup because the previous team, previous Crusaders, we had folded, and it was lastminute.com we decided to restart the team. So, and it was weeks before your season kicked off, and we managed to keep 5-6 players from the old team, but other players had gone and signed on for other teams. So we've got new players in, and we came into Division 1, and our target was promotion. Nothing else, just pure promotion into the Premier League. As for the League Cup, at the beginning, no expectation, and the Challenge Cup, maybe. So that was our target. Our target from the offset was just promotion to Division, no, to Premier Division.
Was this man to your right one of the original 5 or 6, or was he one of the new blood?
One of the new blood, one of my old players, my captain for the last 3 or 4 years.
Tell me about this. Tell me about this guy to your right, because we have our own understanding, right? Which we'll talk about. You tell everybody about him.
Well, I've known this guy since 5 years old. He's tried to play in every single team I've had set out. He's a pain in the butt, to be honest. A lovely pain in the butt.
That's putting it mildly.
Yeah. But we click. We click. We know everything about each other's attitude, temperament, and what he's done on the football pitch, it stays there. I can upset him during the game, he can upset me. But as soon as we walk off, it's kiss and cuddles,
done.
Finish, end of story. And to be honest, quality player as well. Absolute quality. He's got a mouth, you know that. You've refed him. But to him, it's light banter. So, and it's been a pleasure. He's been with me for years. So
I'll get to him a little bit later. We'll talk a little bit more about him. Shaquille, you were one of the first people to report back on Crusaders. I remember you coming in here and sitting here in this studio, and as you've seen that, you come in the studio, or you may not, we'll sit and we'll go through the results from the day before, and we'll look and we'll say, oh, that's good, oh, that's impressive. And as the weeks were going by, Shaquille, you remember you went down the first time you saw Crusaders and you came back and you said, watch out for this team. Now that we've gone all the way through the season, are you surprised or are you not surprised by what they've achieved?
I'm not surprised because from a coach's point of view, when you see someone, or a team or a player, your first look is very important. Your first impression is very important. And when I first saw them, they were really organised. Every single player had their kit on, like the matching tops to the bottoms. The team had first aid kit. It's very rare to have a team that's, you know, representing the club really well organised, having a first aid. And they were structured, they were listening. On the pitch, every single one of them were playing for each other. And that is a good spirit of the champion, playing together and playing for each other.
Rash, you remember back to when London Tigers first came into the ILFL and the impact that they had. Is it similar what Crusaders
It's similar. I think it's good for the league as well, because in the past we've seen it in the Open Sunday League, even in the Vets, when you have a team that comes in and dominates the first season or wins a championship, it raises the bar for other teams to obviously match and to compete against. So now that they're a season old, for me, it's a massive achievement for the club. You know, congratulations to the team, the managers, the team behind it, all the people behind the scene, and you know, you have to give credit to them. But for me now, it's next step, next season. Obviously, you qualify for the Interleague Champions Cup, the Premiership, the big boys. I think this would be interesting to see now that you know everyone knows about you guys. The expectation is like, oh, this is a good team. So I think next season for me it's more mouth-watering to see how they compete against the big boys and how they compete against even in the Interleague Champions events against champions of other leagues. So I'm looking forward to that, to be honest, because to be honest, yes, because we've seen him dominate through the whole season, we knew the league is there, it's in their hands. For the cup, you have to give credit because they came across some big teams in the cup competitions, and to win it again, credit to them. So it'll be nice to see next season, season 2, how that plans out or how they compete against other big boys, so to speak. And for me, I'm looking forward to that, to be honest.
Absolutely. So let me go right down to my extreme right-hand side. You might as well tell all the football fans out there who you are, your position on the pitch.
Everyone knows me as Bash.
You are Bash?
Way. Yeah, and I played in a few positions this season. So up top, behind a striker, centre midfield, holding midfield, depending on the game. But yeah, that's pretty much me.
I'm going to ask you a question.
Go for it.
You come into the season.
Yep.
Confident. You have to have some confidence. You have to have a little bit of arrogance. You know, that's how good teams thrive, I suppose. You go 4 games in the first division. You win 4 games out of 4. You score 29 goals. You've conceded 2. Are you thinking this is a walk in the park?
It's not necessarily the way I look at things, and I'm pretty confident in myself and my own ability. But I joined the team halfway through the season, so I joined early January. Obviously, like T mentioned earlier, I played for him for years and years and years. So I knew the team, I knew the structure, I knew what was out there. And looking at the way we played and the way we dealt with the big boys in our league, I didn't ever doubt that we could win the league. I always see it as you just put them up and we're going to knock them down. It's not a case of being arrogant, it's just a case of confidence in our own ability.
I have no problem with that. I mean, you may see many times people will come on this show, all guests, and I always say to them, you know, speak confidently. Speak confidently about who you are, what you're going to do, and what you want to do, because otherwise, what's the point in turning up, getting out of bed and turning up onto a pitch? So I don't mind that, and like I've heard from the big man here himself, you know, as long as what you do is on the pitch and stays on the pitch,
of course,
we all come
all
off
times.
That's how it is. Your 5th game in, I've just asked Bash a question. 29 goals scored, 2 conceded. Your 5th game turns up, and in rolls a team named Ace. You remember that first game against them?
Well, I remember every single game. I can replay every single game throughout the whole season.
So that was the closest one. That was the one where it was like, okay, now
yes, that was the closest one at the 5th game. But that particular day, we did have a few injuries, and I thought getting a draw would have been a good result, but we managed to go and win. Last minute goal again, so it was a good result. But
was it also a wake-up call a little bit?
No, the wake-up call came later. The wake-up call came later against Stepney B.
I was going to move on to that game, Stepney B, because Stepney B was the
in my
first
opinion,
time I came down and I saw you.
Because this season, obviously, our squad, in previous seasons, we've had a squad of 20 plus, always. And on match days, we've never had anything under 18 turn up on match days in previous seasons. Against Stepney B, we had 11 turn up, because the squad's small, and our centre forward was injured. Basically, a lot of the, we went out on the pitch with, I believe, 7 defenders. Because I got obviously I got back 4, and I got 3 backup back 4s. So we had nothing that day, and to go 1 behind and come back and win that game, that was a turning point.
Because they were better than you for a long period of
Of course they were.
Of
course they were. I'm not going. That's the only game throughout the whole season we did deserve to lose. The one game that we did lose, oh, that was pure controversial. And you're right. I'm sitting here and I'm still thinking about how we lost that game. It eats at you. I don't like to brag, but obviously when I used to play football, I was a defender. So I always worked from the back forward. And if you look at our team this season, 9 goals conceded. And 3 of them own goals, where they've ricocheted off one of our players. And out of the 6 that was left from outplay, just outplay, I reckon there was 2 goals against us. The rest were set pieces. So it's always work from defence upwards, and we are very hard to break down. Very, very hard to break down.
Don't give away too many of your secrets right now.
No.
We're going to talk a little bit more right away through the show. Let's not forget that we've got a Summer League taking place as well, and there were games played yesterday. We're going to talk about those a little bit later on in the show. We also need to talk about the UK BFC final, which is happening this Thursday, Northampton Town Stadium. We're going to be there. I'm going to be there. I don't know if you're going to be there, but we'll be able to report back on that next Monday. We're going to tell you about that. We're going to tell you about upcoming VL7, everything, and a whole lot more coming up in the second part of the show. Rash will speak a little bit more, as will Shaq, and we'll hear a little bit more from the Crusaders Football Club as well. That's all coming up after this short break.